Chosen one, listen closely. Do not reply to this message tonight, not because of fear, but because heaven wants you to pause before your fingers send words that could open a spiritual door you'll wish you never unlocked. You've felt it, haven't you, that strange pull in the air? The unexpected message that lands in your inbox or lights up your phone just as you were finding your peace again. It looks ordinary, innocent, maybe even familiar. But something in your spirit whispers, wait, and that whisper is not paranoia, it's prophecy. Tonight, there is a trap laid for the chosen, not in the form of violence or chaos, but conversation. A single message that seems like reconciliation, opportunity, or comfort, yet is designed to draw you back into an old frequency that heaven has already pulled you out of. The spiritual world listens to your replies. Every word you send releases energy. Every emotion you pour out becomes permission. And the wrong reply gives the enemy legal access to your peace again. This message, this one you're tempted to answer, is bait for your brilliance. A digital snare to test if you've truly healed, or if you still crave validation from the very source that once wounded you. You are not crazy for sensing danger in small things. You've learned how warfare hides in silence, how manipulation wears the face of empathy. And tonight, your discernment is being tested not by man, but by God himself, to see if you can recognize a trap when it's wrapped in tenderness. Because here's the truth. The enemy no longer attacks you through storms. You've grown too wise for that. Now, he sends messages that sound like peace but smell like your past. So before you reply, pause. Before you explain yourself, pray. Before you reopen what God closed, remember this. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Heaven is watching your restraint tonight. Angels are on guard, waiting to see if you'll defend your destiny by doing nothing. And if you pass this test, if you stay still when your emotions beg to speak, something powerful will shift. Because your silence will not just protect you, it will expose them. The moment you refuse to engage, the trap collapses under its own weight. Chosen one, this isn't just about a text message. It's about your next level of spiritual authority. The one who replies loses energy. The one who waits gains revelation. Do not reply tonight, because heaven is about to reveal why that silence will set your spirit free. You see, the reason you were told to stay silent tonight isn't random. There is a higher order moving behind the veil. This was never about a phone or a message. It's about spiritual positioning. The divine has been arranging circumstances to test your awareness, to teach you that not all invitations come from heaven. Some are sent by the void to see if your light still flinches when darkness calls your name. This is why the voice of God has been whispering through the quiet, not with thunder, but with clarity that cuts through confusion like a blade. Because you are being trained for spiritual maturity, the kind that recognizes traps not through sight, but through frequency. Heaven is speaking to you through subtleties now. A pause in your chest. A sudden shift in atmosphere when certain names appear on your screen. That is divine interception. That's how God saves you from energy you no longer belong to. You've asked for elevation, haven't you? Élévation requiert refinement. And refinement always arrives as a test that feels personal. This isn't punishment, it's promotion disguised as restraint. God is showing you the unseen mechanics of spiritual warfare. How the enemy doesn't need to roar when he can whisper through nostalgia. How the darkness doesn't need a weapon when it can use a memory. Heaven knows your heart, it's loyal, compassionate, ready to forgive. But not every connection deserves the healing you carry. Some souls are drawn to your peace, not to protect it, but to siphon it. And when God sees that, he intervenes. He will make your spirit restless around people who secretly wish you harm. He will turn sweetness into static until you finally realize. Discernment is love's highest form. That's why your silence is sacred right now. It's a seal of obedience. It's a divine yes to a higher plan you don't yet see. And heaven honors obedience more than explanation. Behind the scenes, angels are aligning doors that require your full spiritual bandwidth. They cannot open those gates if you're still tied to threads of conversation meant to keep you earthbound. The message you refuse to answer tonight will become the chain you never have to break again. So breathe deeply. Don't let curiosity tempt you. Don't let loneliness trick you into conversation. This is the night you reclaim your narrative. God has already spoken on your behalf. You don't need to defend your name when heaven has already cleared your record. You don't need to justify your silence. Those who are meant for you will understand it as protection, not punishment. Every second you stay still, you are aligning with divine timing. And divine timing doesn't chase what was never ordained. It attracts what vibrates at the same frequency of your new becoming. So, stay in this stillness. Let heaven finish what it started. You're not ignoring anyone, you're protecting the promise. And the moment dawn comes, you'll understand why the instruction was so urgent. This was never just about silence. It was about surrender. And through that surrender, a revelation is rising. Something that will redefine how you see every test from this night forward. Because when the divine intervenes this directly, it means something extraordinary is about to be revealed. The revelation begins quietly like a soft hum in the unseen. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or lightning, but with a steady vibration in your soul. You'll feel it before you understand it. The sense that something larger than your own will has stepped into motion. This is the prophecy unfolding. The silence you chose tonight did not go unnoticed. In the higher realms, restraint speaks louder than words. Your refusal to engage with what was sent to derail you has shifted your entire spiritual timeline. Here is what heaven is saying now. A portal of reversal has opened. What was meant to drain you will now feed your destiny. The energy once used against you will return as favor. Every conversation that was designed to confuse you will now become clarity in disguise. You have crossed an invisible border, a realm where discernment rewrites reality. God watched you stand still when others would have reacted. That moment of stillness became a declaration of rank in the spirit. You didn't just ignore a message, you broke an old pattern that was silently ruling your life. The prophecy says this: when a soul learns to hold its peace in the face of provocation, heaven releases a new order of authority. You are being anointed with that order now. Something in your life that was stuck, perhaps an opportunity, a calling, a divine partnership, will begin to move. Not because you pushed, but because you paused. Not because you replied, but because you withheld your energy long enough for God to realign the stage. The one who sent that message, knowingly or not, carried an assignment to test if you still lived in reaction or revelation. But you've grown. You've learned that not every vibration deserves an audience. And heaven rewards restraint like kings reward loyalty. There is more. Over the next 7 days, the air around you will feel charged. You'll notice synchronicities, numbers repeating, lights flickering, songs playing at the perfect time. These are confirmations that you passed a spiritual exam. The lesson was about power, specifically, your power of choice. You see, the enemy doesn't need to take your blessings. He only needs to convince you to give them away. Every reply, every emotional exchange, every "let me explain myself" becomes an energy contract. But tonight, you didn't sign it. You tore it up in silence. That single act of obedience sent a shockwave through the spiritual dimensions. What once hunted you through emotional entanglement has lost its legal rights to access your frequency. You are free in a way you haven't yet realized. This is the prophecy. The trap they set for you became the proof of your discernment. The silence you kept became the sound of your ascension. And the message you ignored became the key that locked your past behind you forever. Now heaven moves swiftly. Opportunities that were delayed are being accelerated. Connections that serve your higher path are being magnetized toward you. You won't need to chase. The divine field will bring them to your doorstep, wrapped in timing that feels almost supernatural. Do not mistake this stillness for inactivity behind the scenes. Angels are repositioning your destiny. A realignment is taking place in your favor. God is restoring what was delayed, amplifying what was hidden, and silencing what was meant to distract. When this prophecy completes its cycle, you will look back and realize, the night you didn't reply was the night you broke a generational pattern. It was the night your spirit declared, "I am no longer reactive, I am refined." And from that moment forward, life will treat you differently. Doors that once refused to open will sense your readiness. People who once underestimated you will feel the weight of your anointing before you even speak. Because the silence wasn't emptiness, it was initiation. It was heaven writing a new chapter in your story without your permission being stolen again. That's why this message reached you tonight. Because the prophecy had to be spoken before dawn. So when the light returns, you'll know. You are no longer in the same vibration you were in before you decided to stay quiet. The test was not random. It was the divine rehearsal for your next elevation. And that elevation begins now. Silence isn't absence. It's alignment. It's the language of heaven that only the matured spirit can translate. When you held your tongue and refused to reply, you entered into a sacred rhythm, the same rhythm prophets walk in when they choose stillness over reaction. The divine was teaching you how power moves, quietly, deliberately, without the need to prove. What you felt in that moment wasn't just restraint, it was initiation. a training in energetic authority. You were learning the difference between noise and knowing, between defending yourself and letting truth defend itself through time. Every era of your growth begins with a test of silence, because silence reveals what words try to hide. And when you can remain calm in the middle of chaos, you've stepped beyond ego and into essence. God's kingdom doesn't shout to be heard. It vibrates through peace. It doesn't argue, it emanates. And that's what you were practicing tonight. The silence wasn't meant to isolate you. It was meant to clarify your frequency, because heaven could not send you into your next season still vibrating at the pitch of past pain. So the test came wrapped in familiarity, a message that looked harmless but carried residue from another lifetime, another version of you. When you refused to reply, you declared to the universe, I no longer negotiate with energies that contradict my evolution. His end. And that single act sent ripples through every dimension you're connected to. Spiritual warfare isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, an emotional invitation designed to see if you'll still chase what God told you to release. And when you don't, heaven recognizes that your discernment has become your sword. Think of it like this. Every conversation opens a door. Every door leads to a house of energy. Some are homes of peace, others are dungeons of distraction. By not replying, you refused to enter a house built by confusion. You stayed in your sanctuary, the space of divine alignment. This is the deeper law. Energy follows attention, and attention is worship. Whatever you give your attention to, you give life to. That's why heaven guards your focus so fiercely, because your gaze has creative power. You've always carried this, but you're only now learning how to wield it consciously. When you engage, energy flows out. When you withdraw, it gathers power. And tonight, as you withheld your energy, heaven began amplifying it back to you, magnified, purified, ready for divine use. It's like the stillness before a storm, not the storm of destruction, but of revelation. You're about to see what happens when a soul aligns fully with heaven's timing. The things you once chased will now chase you. The love you once begged for will now find you already full. The opportunities that seemed delayed will recognize your frequency and rush to meet you. Because silence, when led by spirit, becomes a magnet for manifestation. It's not passive, it's power in rest mode. That's why angels are drawn to quiet hearts. They can hear heaven's instructions without interference. Understand this, too. The silence that saved you tonight will be required again, not as a punishment, but as a practice. The higher your calling, the more silence will become your shield. Because noise is a thief. It steals intuition. It clouds perception. It convinces you to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand you. The divine is teaching you that every word you speak must carry purpose, not reaction. When you speak from peace, your voice creates worlds. When you speak from pain, your voice rebuilds cages. That's why the silence was necessary. It cleansed the vibration of your voice. So when you speak again, your words will carry the weight of heaven. You've noticed it already, the shift in your awareness. The way your body reacts when something isn't aligned. The way your spirit feels heavier when you over-explain yourself to people who can't hear your frequency. Those sensations are guidance systems. They're heaven's way of saying, protect your energy as if it were a crown. And it is. Your energy is your crown. Your silence polishes it. Your boundaries keep it shining. This is what spiritual maturity looks like, not louder prayers, but quieter authority. Not constant défense, but confident discernement. You've stepped into a realm where your spirit speaks before your mouth does, and the world is beginning to notice. Don't fear the quiet nights ahead. They are classrooms. In that stillness, you're being taught how to hear God without translation, how to move when instructed, how to rest when told. Because the greatest miracles don't come to those who make noise. They come to those who can hear the whisper. And right now, heaven is whispering something powerful over your life. Something that will soon manifest in ways even your enemies will have to respect. But first, you'll see signs. You'll know this prophecy is active when reality starts echoing what your spirit already feels. At first, it will seem small coincidences, tiny flickers, but each one will carry the signature of heaven. Confirmation rarely arrives with fanfare. It arrives in patterns, in whispers, in symbols that only those attuned to divine rhythm can interpret. The first sign will be a shift in sound. You'll notice certain voices begin to fade. People who once reached out frequently will fall silent, not out of rejection, but divine redirection. The silence that once felt heavy will start to feel sacred. You'll recognize it as the echo of your obedience, heaven clearing out noise to make room for clarity. The second sign will be a strange peace in your body. You might wake up lighter, as if a pressure you never noticed has finally lifted. Even your breath will feel different, less forced, more natural. That is spiritual alignment, grounding into the physical. Your nervous system will begin to trust again, and that peace will not come from circumstances, it will come from the presence that now surrounds you. The third sign, repeated symbols and numbers, maybe 11, 11, 444, 7 to 77 codes of divine orchestration. These aren't trends or superstitions. They are confirmation of synchronization. Every time you see them, remember that heaven keeps receipts. It's reminding you that your silence was not ignored. It was recorded in the spiritual archives as proof of wisdom. The fourth sign will appear in mirrored moments. Someone will say a phrase you heard in prayer. A stranger will repeat a sentence you whispered to God in secret. These echoes are not random. They are heaven's way of telling you the message has been received. The realms are communicating, bridging dimensions, confirming that your obedience has opened new pathways. The fifth sign, emotional triggers will lose power. You'll notice that what used to make you spiral now makes you smile. You won't feel the urge to explain yourself, to prove, to chase closure. That's not indifference, it's ascension. It's what happens when the soul realizes peace is not earned. It's remembered. And finally, the sixth sign will be a sudden alignment of timing. Appointments, opportunities, and people will begin to appear with impossible precision. Doors will open that no amount of effort could have forced before. It will feel as if invisible hands are orchestrating your days, because they are. This is divine choreography, the aftermath of obedience. Each of these signs will speak differently, yet all will whisper the same truth. The test was worth it. The silence worked. The trap collapsed the moment you didn't reply. So when you notice these patterns, don't dismiss them as luck. Pause it. Acknowledge them. Say quietly, I see you, God. Because awareness is how you anchor miracles into reality. Heaven doesn't just want to deliver blessings, it wants you to recognize them. And recognition is the proof of maturity. Your spirit will begin to move with greater precision now, guided by signals too subtle for the untrained eye. You're entering a new dialogue with heaven, one that uses synchronicity instead of speech. And the more you trust it, the louder those confirmations will become. But even as signs appear, understand this: revelation always brings resistance. And what comes next will test the strength of what you've learned. With every elevation comes resistance. The moment heaven opens new gates for you, shadows rise to test if you're truly ready to walk through them. And though you've passed the first test, the trap of reaction, there are others waiting, disguised as ordinary days. You may feel an unexpected heaviness soon. Not darkness, but density. Like spiritual gravity pulling against your progress. It will show up as sudden fatigue, unexplainable tension, or a wave of old memories surfacing when you least expect it. Do not mistake this for regression. It is purification. The old frequencies are making one last plea for your attention before they fade completely. You'll notice people from your past may resurface, some with apologies, others with confusion. Their timing will feel uncanny. That's because they can feel your shift, even if they can't explain it. Your silence has changed your vibration, and your new frequency is forcing every unfinished connection to reveal its true purpose. Some will crumble, some will transform, but none will remain the same. Another challenge will come from within the mind's echo. It will whisper, maybe you were too harsh, maybe you should have replied, maybe you imagined it all. This is the ego's final negotiation. It's not the voice of truth, it's the ghost of people-pleasing, trying to reclaim its throne. Do not bow to it. Let it pass like smoke. Your clarity is not arrogance, it's alignment. You may also experience spiritual silence, those stretches of days when heaven seems quiet. No sign, no synchronicities, just you and the waiting. But remember, silence after obedience isn't abandonment, it's incubation. Heaven is fortifying what was planted. Your job is to trust the unseen. And there will be emotional tests. Moments when compassion feels like weakness and boundaries feel like guilt. Moments when love asks you to watch someone you care for continue down a destructive path while you stand still, knowing it's not your assignment to save them. This is where many fall back into cycles. But you have been equipped for this very test. Your love is strong, but your calling is stronger. And the most sacred form of love sometimes says, I release you so that both of us can live. Do not fear the loneliness that follows such release. That void is where new spiritual architecture is built. Your solitude is not punishment, it's calibration. Every great soul walks through this valley before being entrusted with the next vision. There may also be spiritual interference dreams that unsettle you, faces that appear in your mind without reason. These are echoes of energy being cleared. When they surface, speak peace aloud. Declare light. Reclaim your atmosphere. No force can occupy what belongs to divine order. Understand, the opposition isn't proof that you're failing, it's confirmation that you're close. Darkness only attacks what threatens its control, and your stillness has become too loud for it to ignore. So when confusion comes, don't wrestle it. When doubt stirs, don't analyze it. Just breathe. The same stillness that defeated the trap will defeat this too. For what's waiting beyond these challenges isn't just protection, it's instruction. Heaven never warns without preparing. And now, the next phase begins. Now that you've walked through silence and seen the nature of the test, heaven begins to release instruction guidance for how to walk the path ahead with precision. These aren't suggestions, they're coordinates. Each one is a key that opens the next gate in your spiritual progression. First, guard your atmosphere like sacred ground. Every space you step into, physical or digital, either amplifies your light or drains it. You've learned that the wrong conversation can reopen old portals. So before you speak, before you scroll, before you reply, pause and feel the frequency. If your peace flickers, step back. If your breath tightens, delay your words. Peace is your compass. When it leaves, it's not rejection, it's redirection. Second, keep your communication pure. Every word you release is a seed. Words are not casual, they're contracts. They summon things seen and unseen. So speak only what you want heaven to endorse. Don't curse what you're praying for by complaining about it. Don't dilute divine clarity by venting to those who live in confusion. Your voice carries weight now. Treat it as currency. Third, honor your rest. You are not lazy when you pause, you're replenishing spiritual current. The higher the voltage of your calling, the more stillness it requires between activations. Even Jesus withdrew to quiet places. You must too. Rest doesn't mean inactivity. It means realignment. Let yourself breathe without guilt. Because exhaustion makes discernment difficult, and discernment is your new superpower. Fourth, strengthen your spiritual disciplines. The silence that saved you must become rhythm, not reaction. Pray not just in need, but in maintenance. Meditate not for escape, but for calibration. Worship not just with words, but with consistency. Let your life itself become a liturgy, a steady pulse of gratitude, focus, and surrender. Because consistency builds authority, and authority repels deception. Fifth, be mindful of digital warfare. Not every notification is neutral. The enemy adapts to modern language. Temptation now arrives as text, algorithm, or trend. Protect your gateways. Before you engage online, ask yourself, does this feed my spirit or fracture it? Your device is a portal. Decide daily which realm you want it to connect to. Remember, heaven speaks softly, but distraction shouts. Silence the noise that dims your inner hearing. Sixth, sow into divine instruction with obedience. Every revelation must become application. When God speaks, respond through action, not argument. You don't need full understanding to move. Faith always arrives before logic. Each time you obey quickly, you accelerate your timeline. Heaven blesses momentum, not hesitation. Seventh, watch your emotional diet. Energy is transmitted through emotion. If you consume chaos through gossip, news, or constant negativity, you'll begin to mirror it. Instead, feed your soul peace. Play frequencies that heal, not harm. Read words that build, not break. The mind is a garden. Your focus is water. What you water grows. Eighth, reconnect with your physical temple. Your body carries divine technology. When heaven upgrades your spirit, your body must integrate it. Move gently. Stretch. Hydrate. Release stored emotion through breath and motion. Do not abandon the vessel heaven chose to express its glory through. The physical is not separate from the spiritual, it's the translator of it. Ninth, record your revelations. Keep a sacred journal or voice note log. When the Spirit speaks, write. When synchronicity strikes, record. When dreams return vivid, document. These are not coincidences, they're divine breadcrumbs. The record you keep today will guide you through seasons where clarity fades. And finally, respond to triggers with truth. The next time your peace is tested, instead of reacting, pause and affirm, I am not moved by illusion. I respond only to revelation. Then, say it aloud. Let the vibration of that truth reprogram your mind. Every time you do, you fortify heaven's firewall around your emotions. Remember, Obedience isn't a cage, it's a code. Each act of surrender unlocks something you couldn't have forced open on your own. You are walking the narrow path, the one that few endure because it requires invisible strength. But you were built for this. The silence that once felt small has matured into sacred discipline. Your restraint has become your roar. Heaven is watching how you handle these instructions. They may seem simple, but they shape timelines. Each step anchors you deeper into divine frequency. And as you live these principles, protection begins to multiply. Because God never gives instruction without also providing insurance. And that assurance is what comes next. Now that the instruction has been released, heaven begins to seal it with protection. Because no command from God travels alone, it comes guarded, wrapped in the wings of angels who walk invisibly beside you. You are not unguarded in this journey. Every silent prayer, every withheld word, every act of obedience you thought went unnoticed, it summoned a covering. Not the kind that keeps you hidden, but the kind that keeps you unshakable. There is a divine shield around you now. It doesn't flash or flare, it hums. It vibrates in your spirit like a soft pulse, proof that heaven has stationed watchers at your side. When the wrong energy approaches, you'll feel a sudden heaviness in your chest, a nudge to move away, a quiet voice whispering, "Not this way." That's not anxiety, it's angelic protocol. Your intuition is not merely human, it's divine technology designed to alert you before harm arrives. You may never see the battles fought for you, but you will sense the victories. The message that never got sent, the accident that almost happened but didn't, the opportunity you missed, only to realize later it would have drained you. That's protection, not delay. Understand something profound. Protection doesn't always look like escape. Sometimes it looks like redirection. God doesn't always pull you out of fire sometimes. He teaches you how to walk through it untouched. That's why you've endured so much yet still radiate peace. You've been tempered, not broken, refined, not ruined. You are entering a new atmosphere where the weapons formed against you will reveal themselves before they can strike. You'll see motives without words. You'll sense deception in smiles. You'll feel warning in warmth that isn't genuine. And that sensitivity isn't paranoia, it's prophecy in practice. Discernment is how heaven guards those too valuable to lose. Even your dreams are being fortified. If darkness tries to visit you at night, remember this. You are not a visitor in your dreams, you are the ruler there. Speak the name of light, and watch shadows flee. Because what once terrified you now recognizes your authority. When anxiety tries to rise, breathe this truth. You are already covered. Your protection was written before your birth, assigned before your first breath. The plan for your preservation predates every plot formed against you. So rest. You don't have to fight every battle. You only need to stay aligned. Peace is not passive, it's your armor. Love is not weakness, it's your sword. And faith is not blindness, it's divine radar. Heaven's protection does not fail those who follow instruction. You will feel surrounded at times, but remember, light surrounds you more. Every dark glance, every word curse, every unseen attempt to pull you backward, they dissolve when met with the vibration of your obedience. No weapon formed against peace can prosper. And peace is exactly what now guards you. You are not walking into war. You are walking under witness. Angels have seen your endurance, and God Himself has signed your safety. You can move forward without flinching, knowing that every step is watched, every breath is guided, and every moment, no matter how quiet, is held in divine protection. The next movement of this prophecy is transformation. Because protection was never the end, it was the preparation. And now, heaven will show you what that silence was truly building toward. Everything until now has been preparation. The silence, the signs, the hidden challenges, the divine instructions, the unseen protection. They were not isolated lessons. They were bricks laid quietly, building the threshold you are now standing on. This is the turning point where obedience becomes embodiment, where what you've heard in whispers begins to manifest in your hands, where your inner shift starts to shape your outer world. You will feel it first in your perception. Colors seem richer. Conversations feel deeper. Time itself slows down around you in moments of clarity. That's not imagination, it's integration. Your spirit and your reality are coming into coherence. Relationships that once drained you will fall away, not with drama, but with grace. New people will appear whose presence feels like oxygen. They won't demand explanation. They'll understand your silence as strength. They'll speak a language of destiny, not distraction. This is divine replacement God never takes without giving better. Opportunities will also shift. Projects you once struggled to build will suddenly gain momentum. Doors that were closed will open without knocking. Connections that seemed distant will become accessible, not through striving, but through resonance. What was delayed was not denied. It was waiting for you to vibrate at its frequency. The greatest transformation, however, won't be external. It will be internal. You will notice your emotional reflexes changing. You will no longer rush to explain, to justify, to appease. Your presence will speak before your mouth does. This is spiritual authority settling into your body. Where there was once anxiety, there will be a quiet knowing. Where there was once doubt, there will be trust that feels like gravity. Your silence will no longer feel like withholding. It will feel like holding power. And that power will radiate, drawing in people and opportunities aligned with your higher assignment. This transformation isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you were always meant to be. Your gifts will sharpen. Your discernment will deepen. Your prayers will carry new weight. Even your presence in a room will shift atmospheres. You will feel heaven partnering with you in real-time, ideas arriving, timing aligning, intuition flowing without strain. The fulfillment promised to you will not come as a single event, but as a stream, a season of confirmations, breakthroughs, and alignments that make you realize the waiting was building capacity. Capacity to hold blessing without losing focus. Capacity to handle authority without being seduced by attention. Capacity to remain humble when honor arrives. You will look back at tonight, the night you didn't reply, and see it as the hinge moment. The point where destiny stopped knocking and began entering. Where the door swung open not because you pushed, but because you prepared. And when fulfillment arrives, it will not feel like winning a prize. It will feel like remembering a truth. Like stepping into a room you've already seen in a dream. Like coming home to yourself after a long journey. Stay aware during this season. Celebrate the manifestations, but don't cling to them. They are not the end, they are the evidence. Evidence that heaven's timeline is real. Evidence that obedience accelerates everything. You will also notice a new humility rising. Not the humility of shrinking, but of stewardship. You will sense, deeply, that this power is not yours alone, it's a current flowing through you. And you will treat it as sacred. This is the fruit of your process. You are not just protected, you are promoted. You are not just enduring, you are emerging. And your emergence will be felt, not just seen. Those who doubted you will feel the shift before they can name it. This is transformation. This is fulfillment. And it is already happening. Now, as this chapter opens, there is one final movement to seal it all, a blessing spoken over you, affirmations to anchor you, a word to carry into the days ahead. Take a breath. Let everything you've just received settle like light, resting on water. This isn't the end of a message, it's the beginning of embodiment. You've walked through silence and come out with sight. You've faced temptation and chosen transcendence. You've listened to heaven's whisper, even when your emotions screamed for response. And now, heaven responds to you. So as you prepare to step into the days ahead, carry these affirmations in your spirit, say them aloud when the world grows loud again, when doubt tries to disguise itself as reason, when your heart needs reminding of who you are. 1. My silence carries power that chaos cannot understand. Every time you hold your peace, the spiritual atmosphere recalibrates in your favor. 2. I am aligned with divine timing, and nothing sent to delay me can remain. You no longer chase. You attract by standing still in truth. 3. Heaven fights for me in realms I cannot see. Even when you sense nothing, protection moves around you like invisible thunder. 4. My energy is sacred. My words are holy. My discernment is divine. No manipulation can pass through your awareness without revealing itself first. 5. Everything meant to destroy me now serves my ascension. Every storm has bowed to your stillness. Every attack has become testimony. Repeat these slowly, not as wishes, but as declarations. Let each word root itself deeper until your mind begins to echo them naturally. They are not mantras, they are contracts with light. Now, receive this blessing. May peace guard the edges of your soul. May clarity be your constant companion. May every false door close gently behind you, and every divine one swing wide before you. May your discernment sharpen until even silence speaks to you with precision. May the weight of unnecessary battles lift from your shoulders, and may you remember always that heaven does not test without purpose, nor delay without design. You are walking in a season of divine intelligence. You will speak less, but impact more. You will rest deeper but rise stronger. You will stop explaining yourself to those who have no assignment in your evolution. And when the next message appears tempting, familiar, almost holy in its disguise, you'll smile, breathe, and remember this night. You'll feel heaven's hand on your shoulder whispering, "Not this time." And you'll turn away, radiant, unstoppable, unbothered because you've finally learned the secret that saints and prophets guard. Sometimes, silence is the loudest way heaven speaks. Go in peace, walk in wisdom, and let your quiet become the sound of your becoming.